File this one under the header of pretty depressing news. Turns out our metabolic health as a country in the United States is getting worse. Hard to imagine it could get much worse, but according to a new study, it appears to be getting worse. But there's some things we can learn by looking at this data to see maybe why that is and maybe see a way out of this. I'm Dr. Brett Scher, the medical director at DietDoctor.com, and the study I want to talk about is called Trends and Disparities in Cardiometabolic Health Among U.S. Adults 1999 to 2018, and it was published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. So what they did for this was a retrospective look where they went back and looked at data that they've collected through the NHANES database, which is this huge database. They looked at 55,000 individuals, and they looked at specific metabolic health parameters from 1999 and compared it to 2018 to see sort of the trend of what's happened over time and to define how many people have optimal metabolic health. Now, to cut to the chase, what they found was only 6.8% of Americans have optimal metabolic health. That's worse than 1 in 14. That's bad. That's really bad. 6.8% of people, less than 7%, have optimal metabolic health. It's no wonder that we have the medical urgency or the medical endemic that we have right now, or epidemic that we have right now of obesity and metabolic dysfunction. I mean, these numbers certainly reflect that, and it's very sobering and very depressing. But it's important to know how they defined it and some of the specifics of how things change. So let's jump into it. So first, they defined it as an optimal level of adiposity, which is a body mass index of less than 25 and a waist circumference less than 88 centimeters for females and 102 for males. So right away, that's kind of a tricky one. I would much rather see them use the waist to height ratio, which I think is a better marker. But body mass index, for populations is okay. For individuals is very poor. Again, this is a population study. So on average, it's probably right. Considering most people are metabolically unhealthy, so they're not going to have high BMIs because of muscle mass, most likely in this population. But just a standard waist circumference instead of the waist circumference based on height, I also don't love. Okay. Next one was a fasting blood glucose of less than 100 or an A1C less than 5.7%. Fasting blood glucose, really one of the least helpful markers there are, certainly for individuals. A1C is certainly better, not perfect, but certainly better. Lipids. Now, lipids, they used a total cholesterol to HDL ratio of less than 3.5. They specifically did not use triglycerides because they said you can really only interpret them on a fasting blood test, which is correct. And in this study, not everybody got fasting blood tests. And that's a problem, though, because especially when it comes to metabolic health, triglycerides are going to be far more important than total cholesterol. But this is one of the ones where I think we're going to have a caveat on maybe why this is and what we can do about it. More to come on that. Blood pressure defined as systolic less than 120 and diastolic less than 80. Oh, and of course, not on medications for that or on cholesterol medications. And then no history of cardiovascular disease. So 6.8% total, and the mean of people who had how many markers they had was 2.2. So the mean for the average person had 2.2 optimal markers, but not all of them. Whereas in 2000 it was 2.5, right? So the mean's going down in terms of optimal markers, which is not good. Now, interesting, when you look at it based on race, they said non-Hispanic whites improved from 7% to now 8.4%. So they actually improved, which means the people who are identified as Mexican American or non-Hispanic blacks saw the most decrease, the biggest decrease, the worsening prevalence of not having optimal metabolic health, which just shows a lot of the disparities that we face based on where we live and based on our genetics and based on our ethnicity, unfortunately. Now, they looked at income and didn't see a big difference in income, but interestingly, they did see a big difference in education. The lowest level of education, only 5% had optimal metabolic health, and the higher level of education was still only 10%, right? So it was better. It was twice the lower education, but still really poor at only 10%. So that's one lesson, is certainly that it's based on education and based to a degree on ethnicity and culture. So that needs to be addressed specifically so that we have more equitable interventions for healthcare and for promoting healthy lifestyles. But the other one thing that I think is interesting is if we look at the specific components and how those change. So one, they say lipids improved. So in 1999, 30% were optimal, and in 2018, 37% were optimal. But remember, this was total cholesterol to HDL ratio. And since so much of the focus is on lowering LDL and lowering total cholesterol, I could see how that would possibly improve. But is that really the marker we want to follow, especially if we're talking about metabolic health? By excluding triglycerides, we are really cutting out a big swath of the population that likely wasn't improving. If your LDL improves, but your triglycerides are still markedly elevated, your metabolic health's not changing. Your metabolic health's certainly not improving. It may be worsening. Now, that's a different question on saying, does lowering LDL reduce cardiovascular outcomes? That's a different question we're not addressing here. But as we're defining metabolic health, you have to include triglycerides, fasting triglycerides as part of that measure if you want it to be the most accurate, which they didn't do here. So one take home for me is the focus on lowering LDL has not improved our metabolic health. And I think that's a safe conclusion based on what we know about the mechanisms, but also based on this data. All right, next, blood pressure had a minimal worsening from 40% down to 36%, still worse. But the obesity, the adiposity was 34% in 1999. Now optimal is only 24% now. And for blood glucose, it was optimal in 59% and had the biggest decline for 2018 down to 36%. And metabolic syndrome was prevalent in 36% of people in 1999 and in 47%, almost half of the people in 2018. So you can see why I said file this one under depressing news. But I do think there are some take-homes. And one is that our focus on LDL and total cholesterol has not improved metabolic health. And if we can focus on triglycerides, blood sugar, if we can focus on proper measurements of waist circumference, waist to height ratio as a really sensitive marker of insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance, I think that could be better. And putting these interventions across our medical communities, right? Not just the people who can afford to have direct primary care or concierge doctors. These are the type of measurements and the type of care and the type of intervention that needs to be seen in all levels, from the highest level to the lowest level of the educational groups, the socioeconomic groups, to every suburb, city, rural, every race, every population, because everybody deserves the same shot at having optimal metabolic health. But we have to be careful how we define it and how we try and help people achieve it. Because clearly what this shows is what we've been doing is not working, right? Focusing on LDL, focusing on low fat, count your calories, exercise more has not been working. Again, not to say it can't have a role, not to say lowering LDL can't have a role, not to say reducing your calories can't have a role, but we need to do it in a better way. And that's what we're trying to do at Diet Doctors. So hopefully we are helping move this field of metabolic health forward even more as we talk about healthy weight loss, as we talk about body composition, as we talk about higher satiety eating so that you're improving your metabolic health, reducing your hunger, as we talk about lowering carbohydrates, trying ketogenic diets, trying moderate carb diets, trying higher satiety diets and higher protein diets, using those in some way, shape, or form, either as a progression or as different goals for you to start with. And at dietdoctor.com, we want you to take our intake questionnaire so we can try and help you find maybe what's the best starting point for you to help you along your metabolic health journey and your healthy weight loss journey. Because these numbers are depressing and we want to help change them for everybody. All right. So if this was helpful, please click thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll see you here next time on Diet Doctor News on YouTube. Thanks a lot, everybody.